Welcome to the Atlas Island Podcast. I am your host, John Carter, and today we have...
Simeon Williams and
Michael Maney.
And you are?
Wild Daydream.
Wild Daydream. Welcome to the podcast.
Great to be here.
Yeah. All right. So, Wild Daydream, you guys are a indie rock band from... Where is it exactly? Is it Denton? Is it Fort Worth? Is it Arlington? Is it in the DFW Metroplex? Where are y'all guys based out of?
Technically DFW Metroplex, we all kind of drive from different areas, but we rehearse in Arlington. I don't know if that makes us a Arlington band or not, but DFW.
Okay. So y'all just had a record release, and what can you guys tell us about that?
Back in mid-March, we released our EP, Salutations, Stranger. Definitely a departure from our sound. We do the nostalgia, retro rock kind of thing. We like a lot of 60s and 70s folk and rock music, and that tends to, tell us a lot about where to take the music when we're collaborating. But this new record was way more about like experimenting and not being afraid to do that, opening the sound. I created the record all on my own, recorded most of the parts myself so that I could take it to the guys for the live show and they could kind of open it up, interpret it however they wanted to, and us just kind of see what works with the four of us. So very, very weird record, but we're excited to keep expanding our sound.
So on the record, it's just you playing all the instruments?
Yes, they're my good buddy Grant McMahon from Austin actually played drums on one of the tracks on which one were you on, Grant, buddy? You were on Passages. So, but otherwise, yeah, it's me doing guitars, vocals, random aux percussion, whatever I could get my hands on, really. So
nice. Michael, how do you feel about taking those interpretations and kind of making them your own in the live setting?
It's kind of fun. How I met the guys was pretty much like a Facebook ad looking for someone to actually play here for like 4 songs. I think we played a little more and destroyed some covers up, but so I'm like, sure, I'll just come in and play 4 songs live, and then they kind of never asked me to leave, and I just kind of never left. So, and Simeon has like a big back catalog of stuff. He's kind of a prolific guy, and I think he has a double album we haven't even touched or whatever. So, I knew coming in sort of that it was a sort of going to be a live role, and some I interpret a little closer, and some I'm a little loosey-goosey with whatever we play, and it's kind of like if he doesn't get fussy about it, I'll just kind of do something, and I think our live stuff puts a little spin definitely on the studio versions, and I dig it. It's like I know my role, and it's kind of like until he kind of gets through a back catalog of stuff that I don't know how collaborative some of this stuff will be because he just has so much one man band stuff to get through.
Yeah. Well, no, it like he was saying, we kind of feel out the songs. We try to. I send the recordings to the guys before a rehearsal. They'll kind of hear what I did on tape, and then in a rehearsal, we'll talk about, like, let's just try it the way it is on the tape, see what we think, and then we'll kind of start to have a brainstorm phase where it's like, okay, what's something left field or something completely different that you're hearing, Michael? And then he'll do it, and a lot of the time it's either we'll go back to the tape, or we'll go with his part, or we'll kind of do something in between. So we kind of just talk it out and see what feels right, really.
Because by nature, a lot of the songs are kind of lo-fi-ish already, so sometimes there's not really even that much drums on it, or
right.
They're sort of like simplistic. A lot of his stuff has a slight swing or less swing, kind of shuffle to it, and it's kind of new for me. It's doing that versus times I play with either I make up my own drums on it, or I'm playing it with covers or tributes or whatever, where you got to play the tape a little more. There's not, so it's kind of it's definitely an interesting process. And I mean, they haven't thrown me out yet, so I come in Keith Mooning on it all, and it sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
How Keith Moon do you go? Do you bring the horse tranquilizer in or what?
Sure. We keep a stunt drummer because I pass out on stage, and
Has anybody said at a Wild Daydream show, screaming into the crowd, does anybody know how to play the drums?
I've played some gigs with them where I think it will happen. Yeah. So, but not yet.
Gosh. Sorry, I'm just having that scene in my head. Have you guys played?
Play it out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Basically the scene is Simeon and Michael just wrestling each other off stage and frantic.
Almost every show.
Cartoony.
I think I can take him. I think I can take him.
He's larger than me. I kind of gave up after the fight too. I was like, what am I doing?
Oh, gosh. Okay, so for Salutations, Stranger, Simeon, I wanted to ask you this. The EP has a lot of references to, I guess, how do I say this? When, like, you have Land Ho, where you say the phrase Salutations, Stranger, and, Passages and Ellis Island. It's all about, like, arriving somewhere, new beginnings for immigration. You allude a lot to that, or finding yourself in new places or having to leave to go to a new place. Were you inspired by something similar to that, or in your past life? This is his fourth reincarnation.
Yeah, I'm getting kind of bored.
He's gonna evolve soon. No, is there an event or anything like that that inspired it?
For sure. Well, I think when you're writing this stuff, it's always interesting to think backwards, coming from exactly and when. I'm not sure the order of things, but I'm sure the immigration themes are definitely come from, like, my background, like my dad's side of the family, West Africa, Liberia. So just this idea of coming to a country fresh, new, it has always been interesting to me. But I think I'm a huge Christian reader of the Bible. So I'd been reading a lot of, Old Testament, kind of like Genesis, Exodus, and kind of just this idea of man or people as a foreigner in this world, and just kind of looking at our society now, who is incredibly comfortable and entitled, and, things are handed on a silver platter. So to me, comparing where man comes from in the Bible to where we're at now, just seeing, like, all that entitlement just kind of inspired me to write, and explore, not necessarily critique, even though I do have some issues with our modern society, as, everyone has their take, but just interested and curious how humans get to a place where, like, no, I own this, even though, at least speaking for myself, I'm just winging it every day, and I'm always questioning, like, so I'm a human being, like, what does that really mean? Like, what is this skin? And it seems like a weird thought, but I think there's a lot we take for granted, and I think the record is just about just being unassuming and just entering in a situation as a total foreigner and being okay with that, and being okay with not knowing who we are altogether, but at least acknowledging that we don't know crap. I mean, really, when we get down to it, we are all born out of the womb most of the time, and we're just, like, winging it from day one, and I think it's something we all forget. But anyway, that's kind of it's. And I know that's not really, like, a straight answer. It's a little abstract, but at the same time, I didn't want to define what like my thoughts about it too much either, because the music to me was very abstract and very exploratory when I was writing it. So keeping it kind of loose too was good for me too. But
Okay. No, thank you for going into that. That explains a lot. So this album obviously sonically is much different from the first album. There are elements that are similar there. Obviously, your voice is, even your voice has changed a little bit from the first album. But I would say there's a lot more, I guess, jamminess to it. Maybe it's because you have a band in mind when you're writing these things. Passages specifically, I was like, this sounds like it could be like a Dead or like an Allman Brothers tune or something like that. I literally was just like, okay, I guess they're going to do like a 15-minute guitar solo on this live. Maybe, I don't know.
We don't play it that often because I play it terribly. So
he's kidding.
Gonna do like the Moby Dick, like 20-minute drum solo, John Bonham. Like,
We're working on it.
Yeah, we'll get it under. But we played it at two shows, and it's because of me. I think it's died both times.
It's a mix. I mean, everyone kind of sucks at it. We'll get it on the stage eventually.
Yeah.
You should check out our show. We all suck a little bit.
I'm just taking accountability.
what's
Everyone's responsible.
what is the first? What's the first step in the 12 steps? Like admitting you have a problem. Like,
Exactly.
yeah, I admit I'm the problem when it comes to this song and not working out.
Right.
So I guess going back to the first album, what because when we've known each other for a long time, and I've always known you as like an instrumentalist. I didn't really know you as a songwriter or even a singer-songwriter. And this is even going back before the first album possibly, is when I saw you with the band The Black Hills. Also, for everybody who's listening, yes, my throat is not that great right now. I lost my voice last week, so I apologize to anybody who's listening to this.
We'll call it ASMR.
Yeah. When did the songwriting part come in? Because I remember you were interested in writing tunes or performing tunes when you were solely a sax player in high school, and then you went to UNT to study music. When did it transition from I'm going to be an instrumentalist kind of composer, jazz composer, to I'm going to be a indie singer-songwriter type?
Yeah. So, like John was mentioning, I went to UNT for jazz studies in 2010. So that's when my college experience started, and pretty quick, like in the first year to year and a half, it was very kind of depressing, to be totally honest. I think I did miss my hometown, but also, you come to a school like UNT, which is renowned for its jazz program, the jazz musicians who come through. And so really, if you're not top of the line virtuosic kind of player, it can be pretty disheartening. I mean, you go into the practice rooms and you're just trying to get a scale pattern down, let alone improvise at a whim. And you hear the guy next door just playing over rhythm changes at 250. And so it made me really kind of rethink, yes, I like music, but in what capacity? And I think ultimately 2-3 years into the program, I kind of realized, okay, well, maybe I should shift and write my own music. I'm able to compose. I'm able to play different instruments. Was mainly a sax player, but had played guitar starting a little bit in high school, but really got into it in college and started learning more about different bands, and probably around, it was like early or late 2014, early 2015 when I got together with a couple of buddies, my buddy Grant McMahon, who I mentioned recently, now in Austin. Previously, he was in Fort Worth, so he would just come and hang out with me. And he showed me a bunch of folk music, so that's actually what kind of shifted my interest from jazz to folk. From there, we got my buddy from the jazz program, who is a bone player but a drummer, Ryan, and he started playing drums for us, and we kind of built what was then the Black Hills. And so that was kind of my foray into, like, I mean, for one, live music and just learning how to perform well, but also just like this whole new world of folk music. That was, for me, as like not really a virtuosic player, but more like I was more into the feeling of playing, like the soulfulness you could put into playing. It totally lined up way better. And so that's kind of
the expression was way more natural.
Absolutely. And there's just less pressure when you're writing your own stuff because you write it for yourself and you kind of write to your strengths. And a lot of the stuff was just, you know, kind of coming from my heart. And most people listening to that kind of, you know, folk music aren't looking for you to play the craziest scales necessarily. They just want to have a good story, a good heartfelt message, or at least just something real. Just something real. So that's kind of how I found myself there. Then Black Hills lasted for 2 or 3 years. And that got me into old music, which then got me into Wild Daydream, which was more kind of based on a sound of the past rather than a modern thing. I say that. The latest record is definitely pretty modern, but...
Oh, no. I mean, I remember... the song Houston, I remember you performing them with them. And I actually saw you guys, the Aardvark in Fort Worth.
Oh, I miss it.
Oh, yeah.
I miss it.
Yeah, I was just trying to remember, like, because I think it's a different name now or something like that, and I can't remember. Also, there was, like, a coffee shop over there I used to go to all the time, Stay Wired Coffee, that had an open mic, and a lot of good songwriters in Fort Worth came out of there. So that the place we're talking about, people, is off of University Drive in Fort Worth. It's literally right next to TCU on your way there.
Sponsored by TCU.
Yeah, really. And I went one semester there. It was not great. Actually, it was fun. I can't deny that. It was interesting. I'll talk about that maybe in another podcast. But yeah, it's also off Berry Street. Don't leave your car off Berry Street for just its own safety. I'm just letting y'all know that now. Just he's laughing because he knows.
I do.
Michael, do you know?
I don't know a reason not to rear a car there. I've played the Aardvark before, and no one stole my car.
Yeah. You just said park.
Luckier.
Yeah, you were very, very lucky.
So was there a Fuzzy's next door to that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah,
the like original Fuzzy's Tacos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Fuzzy's.
Sponsored by Fuzzy's. Fuzzy's sponsor us, please.
Please, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I would love that.
Yeah.
No, yeah, but no, we actually that was when Jordan Sullivan, who we played in our high school jazz band with, I played guitar in that. Simeon played saxophone, and our friend Peyton played saxophone as well. I actually I wouldn't have gotten that spot if Peyton hadn't moved from guitar to saxophone. So thank you to Peyton Stevens. If you're listening to this, I know you never get on social media ever, and I randomly run into you from time to time. But
Peyton, answer my text. All right.
I don't know Peyton, so I don't know.
Michael says to answer your text to me, too.
I'm saying answer his text. I don't know. Yeah. Also, funny story. Actually, the last time I saw Peyton was at, it was at a Marbin show, not Marbin, and it was at the Grove in Fort Worth, which is no longer there too.
Yep.
Speaking of venues that are no longer around,
a lot of those.
Gosh, the pandemic was not kind to music venues, but. No, so the Black Hills, when did that really run its course?
I'd say 2017. And what was interesting was at the beginning of at the top of 2017, we were slow. It had kind of been slow the few months before. We wanted to reconvene, kind of rethink our sound, maybe bring more rock to the folk. It was kind of the direction we were headed in. And actually funny at this time is really when I was listening to, older music, a lot of, like, honestly, really Laurel Canyon kind of stuff, Eaglesy.
Early 60s stuff, so like the Birds, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And
The Association. I'm trying to think of other ones. Mamas and Papas.
yeah,
Joni Mitchell. Yeah.
Joni Mitchell, Carole King, all that stuff was very interesting to me, and that's kind of what I started bringing to the Black Hills. But we all were kind of taking our separate paths at that point. Whether that be higher education or moving or whatever, and we all were kind of, funny enough, had our own other projects happening that we were kind of dipping ourselves more into, whether that's solo projects or other bands. So it's just kind of like an amicable, like, not even a split, but just like, hey, like, it's not necessarily the end. We're going to put this down for a little bit, and whenever it feels right, pick it up again. So really it's 2017 kind of top to the middle of the year is when we decided that, we wanted to take a break.
Yeah.
So,
It was just the end of a season.
exactly.
Before my time.
Hey, maybe,
What'd you say?
That's before my time.
in 20 years, maybe their, Black Hills reunion tour will happen. I don't know.
I don't
know
know.
how many tickets we could sell, but but yeah. I mean, we're all still very great friends, and really, those were very formative years in terms of like the music I wanted to create, and being a performer, and just being in the scene. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
I like Ryan. Yeah.
And this guy knows Ryan.
Yeah. Parallel Parker.
Parallel Parker. Go check him out.
Nice. All right. So I totally forgot the question I was going to ask you when I was going to transition this. So I'm just going to ask you a different question. So the main influence was like the early 60s sound. I obviously can hear that in a lot of tunes. I mean, even Children of Allison and Achilles, Oh Lord. Because it's not a true 60s sound on that first record. Because if you were to hear that, you would obviously hear like 12-string guitars, very echoey vocals, which there is some of that. But where did the influence of like, because you talked about listening to a lot of like folk records and new records. When did that start blending to where it's the Salutations Stranger EP?
That's a good question. I think I previously was compartmentalizing my listening to, I want to listen to an older band. Boom. 60s, 70s, sometimes 80s. Oh, I want to listen to like a modern indie band, whether that's Wilco, Spoon, Arcade Fire. Very new bands, still going and still kind of making cutting edge music. And I think this was just me trying to maybe lean more on the modern stuff without losing too much of the, old school folk from the first record. I was just trying to say, okay, if I were to make a record that sounded more of now, like what would that look like? I think it was just kind of a challenge to myself to try to combine those worlds as best as I could, while also just kind of challenging myself a little extra to go past what I even like was hearing necessarily.
Okay.
In the songs, but yeah.
All right. So how long was it before you decided to put a band to it?
Yeah, I think I had always wanted to put a band with the recorded music, even when I was making it, when I started making it really in 2018, and going into 2019, 2020. I mean, really by 2020, like that dream was completely lost. But
No way, really? What?
yeah, I know. I don't know what kind of year y'all had, but
Talk about years, bud.
years. But yeah, I really, it was the end, the late. It really was late 2022 where it seemed like a possibility, just because, I have always played with our lead guitarist Patrick. He's been a good buddy for a few years now, and he was just looking to be in a band. So I always had him around, and we would occasionally do like a two-person gig, and he would play leads while I played rhythm and sang.
He's amazing. He's a
very
super
good.
talent.
He's very good.
I know you guys played here. I was just like, wow, okay, cool, awesome.
Yeah, no, he's...
By the way, thank you guys for doing that showcase and playing through that. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, we appreciate it, because that literally began everything moving forward, really.
Are you serious?
Seriously. I mean, like Michael said, like we were looking for a drummer, and so I don't think it would have really been fast-tracked if I didn't really want to play with the full band here. And so sometimes it's just those gigs where you're like, I have to make it to that gig this date. We need to play. We got to make it work. Kind of pushes you out of your comfort zone and gets things fast-tracked a little bit. So
That's hilarious because our last guest, Luke, literally said the same thing.
Oh yeah,
I'm not joking.
good job,
about
guys. You're doing something right.
that. Okay.
And sort of the serendipity, it kind of caught me at the end of some things, and kind of like in a lull almost, because I'd come off like a month and a half of a bunch of tribute band stuff, and then some of the original bands that I'm in are kind of dormant, or kind of looking around. So it was like kind of before everything started back up, and so I was thinking, it's like not during the show necessarily, but before, I'm like, oh, this is just like, I'm going to show up and play 4 songs and go on my own way. And definitely a happy accident to keep it going. I'm like, well, I kind of like these guys, and they haven't beat me up yet, so maybe, maybe this work. And, and I'm curious too, like you're talking about your songwriting stuff. And, 'cause I don't think we've ever ridden in a car together, like, all right, what's the song about? What's the song about? What headspace were you in? And, I'm a couple of years older than Sim, and I'm like, hey, were you in the same space I was at this time? Like writing subject matter stuff, now that when you first get married, or you first have to start paying bills, or you first, hating this job, or you're on a second or third job, it will change a lot of the stuff compared that you write, I know for me it does, than you wrote in your teens or your 20s or whatever, because you're just in a different world, so you're not writing about this fluff, you're writing about this fluff over here.
100%. Yeah, no, I mean, that's a good point. Let's have that car ride sometime and listen to the songs we talk about. That's amazing.
Yeah, if we have you guys on again, then we can talk about, hey, so how was the car ride?
And we'll be like, crap,
we can just write all the songs on a wheel, and then we can spin the wheel, and then Sim can say what it's about.
Or no, what we could do is just like assume you guys are just in that car ride after this. We turn the light off, then you guys are in that car ride and indefinitely until you guys come back.
There you go.
No. So I also wanted to ask you, Simeon, because you did go to film school at UT Arlington as well. Where did the music kind of shift to film, and what brought you back to music?
So I did venture, yes, into film, but I actually never left. So for my day job, I am a video editor at a new cable network called Great American Family.
Okay.
You can think of it as Hallmark, essentially.
Okay.
So, rom-com movies, seasonal, a little bit of like older shows, old westerns, Bonanza, Little House, So that's kind of the channel. But I do editing for them, so I edit things for air, and kind of work in-house there to make sure the schedule from day to day is good. So that's kind of my day job. On the side, when I'm with the guys, we're doing gigs on weekends. So I'm still in the video world. I would say that UNT probably by year three and a half, I was kind of so the story really goes, I had my roommate with me there, and I was just asking him, hey, like, what'd you do in class today? And he's like, oh, we just watched a movie. And I was like, anything else? You just watched a movie? And he was like, no, that's it. And we've been doing that kind of throughout the week. So I'm like, okay, sign me up. And this is kind of at the peak of my depression with like not fitting the vibes of the jazz school. So I kind of transitioned there thinking I could still do the singer-songwriter stuff.
You were sick of just getting emotionally abused all day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard some people they relate to that in the room.
Yeah.
I love North Texas. So I like it.
Yeah, no, and I will say that. I will say UNT as a school is totally fine. I think it was definitely kind of a soul-searching thing of like what works for me, and that's a lot of college kids really.
No, it is to just kind of, I've talked about this, but it is a pressure cooker. I've only talked, the good thing about music school is that you're around a lot of great musicians that are way better than you. You're also around professors who will push you, and they're not going to push you in the ways you think they're going to push you. And it's not always healthy. And there are challenges to that. And if you can overcome that, great.
We've all seen Whiplash.
I was like, that's not my tempo.
I've never, I have a story about Whiplash, but I'll just save that. But yeah, no, it's like you're just gonna have to go through it, like, and it is what it is. But you switched over from music to film because your friend was just like, hey, we just watch movies all day. Where do you go from there?
I say, I like movies. Let's switch this whole thing. I'll still play some folk with my band, The Black Hills. It'll be great, but let me pivot here. I don't necessarily want to do the jazz thing, so I do some prereqs to do the film program there, and my wife, as of now, Carrie, was actually someone who kind of pushed me to move to Arlington so that she was working there at the Bowling Museum, International Hall of Fame, too. Check it out if you like to bowl or are interested in bowling or want to say hi to my wife. But anyway, we were dating at the time and wanted to be closer together, so I transferred to UTA, finished up my film program there in 2019, and then started working in Fort Worth at the cable network, and meanwhile still kept music up on the side, and yeah.
Cool. Sorry, I just wanted to touch on that. Are you planning on doing anything music video wise for yourself or anybody else, or do you have any projects that are potentially in the works?
Yeah, actually, I'm collaborating with a couple of my film buddies from film school at UTA, Joseph Tesfaye, Ian, wow, blanking. That is so sad. Sorry, Ian. Mundy, I love you, buddy. And David Willett. We're going to do a music video later on this month for a new single, Homesick.
Whoa, okay.
And that comes out
Parentheses, whoa, or just whoa?
Parentheses, whoa, dash, oh, exclamation mark.
Just goes on indefinitely, and you scream it as well.
Yeah. If you don't know my music, the titles can be like strangely specific. It's like whenever I can look at a title and say, oh, that's not like spelled out right. And I'll make it look weird, and then it'll finally look right. Like, oh, that is a song title I would remember. Side note. But yeah, Homesick, whoa, It's going to be released July 14th.
July
Friday.
14th.
July 14th. This time around, this is going to be off of our double record, either back end of this year or, depending on how much I want to pull my hair out, beginning of next. So, but yeah, this will be one of the singles off of that, and we'll slowly be kind of releasing singles from that record. But we'll be doing a music video for that. A lot of old school vibes, 70s, Fleetwood Mac-y kind of vibes. So
What era of Fleetwood Mac?
Mid to late 70s.
So Rumors.
Yeah, Rumors, going into Tusk a little bit.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do y'all feel about Tusk?
I love Tusk.
I played Tusk 2 weeks ago for a tribute band. So
Did you really?
yeah, I fill in for a Fleetwood Mac tribute band that
Is that
travels around and plays.
Is that the Danny and Chris one or no?
No, it's called Forever Mac. And
Okay,
So when their drummer can't play shows, I think he has like a polka side project or something that. So supposedly it pays real well and he travels and it does good. So when he just doesn't play, they call me and they're like, do you remember the stuff from the last time you played? And I'm like, okay. And so I played Wichita Falls with him. So I played Tusk. I don't know if it's my best time I've ever played Tusk, but I played with them, just 2 weeks ago, I think. Yeah.
That's crazy. I'm sorry, I can't get over the fact that you cover for a guy because he turns a Fleetwood Mac tribute band down to do a polka gig. The polka gig is better paying.
Well, it's like an
Fleetwood
Oktoberfest
Mac
thing or something. So
okay, that makes more sense.
Because I met them right after, because I had basically done like September, October, November with him because he was busy doing Oktoberfest gigs. And I played like 4 or 5 shows like right in a row with them.
Is
And
this
then I
man?
was
I
done
need to know
with
his
them.
name.
And then so I started playing with y'all in December, like right after. And because the pandemic killed a lot of different things here and there.
Oh, yeah.
I had never really, not so much in Dallas had done so much tribute or cover band work or whatever, but it was the only thing really working during the pandemic. Because it was bars wanted to go more on a sure bet, and sometimes original bands from a drawing perspective are not a sure bet,
that's gonna be.
So,
I actually am gonna for listeners, I am gonna have. I'm trying to get people from big tribute acts on here to have a discussion about that in the DFW area specifically, because it's because it's like. I mean, we all kind of get it. It's a sure thing for money. It's like the wedding band thing. You're going to get paid a lot of money, but it's like, how long is it going to last? The wedding band thing, it's going to last forever.
I thought it would have already peaked out, and I think some of these bands are pricing out the rooms here and there, and it's getting a little overflow. But it hasn't died yet, and it's a strange scene to itself. A lot of people who think they are the act that they are, and in strange things, there's bands that the tribute band might even make more money than the actual artist that they're attributing. But it's a strange scene, and the pandemic was weird because especially when they're doing like 50% rooms or whatever, and I was like playing like with acoustic duos, and to where it was just an odd time. It was
I played I do a lot of worship stuff, and everybody was like, I literally had to stand on an X and 6 feet away from everybody, and we had to do church live streams, and I had to wear a mask while standing on an X performing worship music, and the singer had to stand on an X and sing out into a crowd of no one. Wow. And the production crew had to do, like, again, you had one person as the production crew because you couldn't have anybody else around. So it was crazy. It was very odd. I mean, I really hope we never go through something like that ever again, or God forbid anything worse. So no, it's interesting. I really do want to have a discussion about tribute acts here with people from tribute acts, and just talk about, like, where do we even see the future of tribute acts? That's a whole topic in itself. And what are the tribute acts going to look like in the future? It's like, what tribute acts are going to, like, I hate to say this, are they going to kind of die with the artist? Or are they going to be like Elvis, like tribute acts, where it's like we still have singing Elvis impersonators, like, that kind of thing. But
I mean, it's the survival of the fittest, like any
Yeah, yeah.
business. The invisible hand of the market moves what gets popular, what doesn't. And then, I mean, venues are, it's your, business model to make money. And so they're like, we'll put this here, and see if it makes money. And, they're going to find out what sticks. And, a lot of tribute bands won't stick because they pick something too niche, that doesn't have enough hits to sustain on a whole night, or even splitting a night. But I was surprised what was working and what wasn't working out there, I mean, and it's definitely what Dallas has become, but it needs, if smaller and medium-sized rooms, can't, they're getting priced out of trying to get tribute bands. So I think that's where original bands and maybe even more mom and pop cover bands can that's going to be their venues. And it's finding those venues that are cool and everyone's realistic about, money and everything. And, that's where it'll work again.
Yeah. And, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being in a tribute band or a cover band. It's just like in the DFW area, it's so oversaturated. And that's kind of why I wanted to have, excuse me, more of a conversation about it, because it's like, it's like everybody I know wants to do original music, but like everybody has to do cover band stuff or tribute band stuff to do it. And by the way, like the biggest artists of all times, the Beatles started as a cover band. The Rolling Stones started as a cover band. Their first few albums were all covers. It's like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers were a cover band. Pantera, for crying out loud, in the 80s were a Van Halen tribute band, or like a glam metal cover band, and they played parties and stuff. So it's obviously a way for you to gain experience, gain money, and then you can meet people to form bands and form original music and become great. So I never want to knock cover bands and tribute bands in that regard. I'm just curious, like, where is the market for original music in the area? That's kind of also one of the reasons, like, I wanted to do this podcast, to interview, yourself and other musicians, just to talk about it, get your name out there, and know, like, hey, there is original music out there, folks. And these artists are waiting for you to show up and listen. So that's kind of the interesting there. So now, ending that on a serious note, I got a dumb one. I already kind of spoiled it before coming out here, because we talked a lot about engineering before the podcast. So what is the best album, song, whatever, that is mixed poorly?
I'm going to say the entirety of the original stereo mix of Revolver.
Okay.
And really, to me, the only thing that's really lacking is the bass. But it's like the whole record. You're just like, I just wish there was more bass because this sounds super thin.
So you're happy with the remaster that came out?
Remaster was amazing. Really love that record now.
Yeah. Do you have you listened to any of the Sean Lennon remixes or anything like that?
No.
Apparently he's doing some stuff with Mark Ronson. I don't know if that stuff's been released yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have something to check out.
Is Metallica too low-hanging fruit for, or is it? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, of course, I wish there was more bass guitar on Injustice for All. I mean, I love the kick drum sound on that record. That kind of clicky, kind of Pantera kick drum. I love it. It fits with that music.
Oh no, the double bass kick on one is still iconic.
It's great. And, it's like, would I love a bit more bass guitar on that? Yeah, of course. You can go on and be all trying to go after Saint Anger and stuff like that, but it's more like there's also just not a lot of bass guitar on that too. And it's not even the snare stuff, but yeah, it's like and then when they remaster stuff, you see them boosting frequencies, but it's really, a lot of those albums need better mixes, not necessarily EQ help. It's like, really, but then again, you have to put yourself in the place of these were designed for cassette and through crappy stereos, or these were designed for vinyl, like on a Sears record player, so you couldn't slam tons of bass guitar or tons of like kick drum, because if you grew up during the CD age, you got spoiled with like this big dynamic kind of thing, and then the loudness wars and then all this stuff, and it's hard to put your place back into like who was the audience buying this record at the time it came out. Yeah, and the same thing for like iPod now. Like people mix stuff to be heard on headphones.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's where you can just go on and on engineering of like why, like if you listen, there's like not a lot of like high toms and stuff. There's like lower toms because it fits in better underneath vocals and stuff. Or why things are triggered and why things aren't real dynamic, because it needs to sound good at one volume all the time, because people, if it doesn't come blasting out of the radio on this, people aren't going to like it. So,
Oh yeah, totally. So my answer is, and I might burn some bridges with this one, Iggy Pop and the Stooges, Raw Power.
Agreed. I love that record.
I love that record.
It's unfortunate.
It's mixed so horribly. I love it. I love every song on it. Search and Destroy is still like just, the guitar playing on that is like just hits me in a way I don't know how to explain it. But at the same time, I listen to it and I'm just like, it is all over the place. It is absolutely all over the place. I can't like objectifyingly say like, oh, this is a great mix. No, it's not. Like, it's...
Question then.
Okay, go for it.
We have Bowie mix. We have Iggy's mix. Are we leaning more towards one being better for you?
I've listened to both.
I strangely prefer Iggy's mix, but it's not better necessarily objectively.
No.
Like, I think Bowie's mix is actually better, but it sounds thinner and it sounds kind of more controlled. Whereas, like, I like Iggy's mix because it at least works with the music, because it's insane. It's insanity. It's just, here's a lot of sound out of your speaker.
So here's the deal with the Iggy and Bowie mix, and maybe you guys will understand this. When I hear the Iggy mix, I think I hear Iggy Pop and the Stooges live.
Yeah.
It sounds like a live mix. When I hear the Bowie mix, it sounds like he's making it for a record.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The best way I could describe it. So that's why I'm just kind of sitting here just like... So it's too different for me. So it's like, but yeah, I love that record. I love all of the Detroit rock stuff, MC5, even the Ted Nugent stuff. I love the Ted Nugent stuff. I know his political views and him as a person is very
Patrick and I were playing Stranglehold in the garage to
Dude, Stranglehold
Sim's
rips.
port,
I don't care what anybody says. Like, I actually met the original singer for that. Oh gosh,
St. Holmes.
Yeah, Derek St. Holmes. He comes to the Dallas Guitar Festival every year. He's a really sweet guy, a very, very sweet guy. He's also a really good guitar player too. So one of the unsung heroes of rock, because a lot of people think Ted's actually singing on that track when it's really Derek. But yeah, no, that song rips. Cat Scratch Fever, even like Great White Buffalo, all that stuff. One of the funnest shows I've ever seen live was the Ted Nugent show, and then he had to do his stupid political rant about Hillary Clinton, and that's when I was just like, all right, time for me to leave. Like, and then I came back when the music started back up. I was like, it was interesting.
Like me with Van Morrison as of late, all his political things he throws in the music.
Oh yeah, he did do that, didn't he?
Yeah, it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. I mean, I those older records for sure. I love Moon Dance and Astral Weeks, but anyway.
That's what I hear a lot of Van Morrison and some of the stuff.
stuff?
Yeah, some of the stuff that we do. I was like, it's kind of where I was taking a point of reference, and then I just ignore that and play what I want. But
Yeah. Well, that's good. So
somebody told me.
Like Van Morrison.
Yeah, the band I play in, the guitar player was just like, he said he even heard like some Dire Straits stuff. I was just like,
Interesting.
okay.
It got me thinking like weird thoughts of like playing the Aardvark and all that. Like,
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, like a 1 minute story, like Farstar band, you know, I've been in for a long time, still in Farstar, but that like we were supposed to do some radio interview actually at the Aardvark, I think
Wait,
with
really?
Chaz or something, and then he didn't show or whatever, and we were supposed to play first, ended up getting snookered into playing last. They wouldn't give us any comps on beer, so now we have like 5 hours to kill in Fort Worth. And like with no free beer, which is bad for a band. All venues, comps. So, and we didn't, and like half the band just left and went and watched a movie and then came back for our show. And I think we played for like 7 people or something, which is sometimes a lot for some bands and sometimes, whatever. But I remember it was a long drive. I think I was living either over by Prestonwood or I might have been living like up in Denton at the time. So it was a hike. A hike back, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I-35 takes no prisoners.
Yeah, that's before we had smartphones and stuff. It was like kind of hard to kill like 4 hours. It was only, I probably went to Fuzzy's like 3 times during this time, which explains why I have some weight here. But it was like, what do I do for the next 4 hours? But literally half the band's like, we're just gonna go see a movie. So they left, went and saw a movie, and then came back.
Still is a great option for it. Like A, bonding experience, and B, it just kills time. And if the movie's bad, it's almost just as good if the movie's good because now you have something to complain about.
Yeah, like our interview was supposed to be at 8, and then I think we were supposed to play at 10, and then became no interview. So we're there like at 7:30, and then we don't even go on to like 12:30 now because some other band didn't show, and we're like, it was a killing a lot of time. The fun, part of being an original band.
Oh yeah. You play a lot of. I've never told this story on the podcast, but I've told you this story. I played a coffee shop in Arlington, and there was a band that opened called the Earthly Creatures, which I don't even know if they're still around anymore. I still have their CD. By the way, great guys, like really, really nice guys. Travis Maxey put on the event, and it was me, Travis Maxey both put on the event, and he put me last, and I don't know why he put me last, or maybe I put myself last. I don't even remember. This was so long ago, but it wasn't even 9 o'clock. It was like 8:30 when I went on, and after the Earthly Creatures got done, the entire crowd left. And it was literally just me and Travis, and I was just sitting there, and he even looked at me and he was just like, dude, you do not have to play. And I don't know why. I'm like, no, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna do the set. I played 5 songs. I had 10 songs ready. I played 5 songs, and I was like, yeah, I'm done.
At least the bartend though, right?
Say what?
For at least the bartend. Did you have at least one person
listening?
No one.
No one. I played an empty room. I played for Travis, who is man in the coffee bar, and that was it. Yeah. Yeah, no, when people are like, yeah, playing to an empty room. No, I have played to an empty room. Like it was like I attempted to do stand-up comedy 3 times, and I got booed the first time. I got booed off the second time, and then the third time, this is actually what killed it. Nobody laughed. Nobody said a thing. It was the deadest crowd. And when you say a joke and everybody's looking at you, paying attention to you, and nothing, that is more soul-crushing than getting booed off stage. Yeah. Sure. Oh yeah. I'll tell anybody that. And that's why I don't do stand-up comedy, people. So yeah, that's the deal there. I don't want to end it on like a serious note like that, but yeah, I've definitely done like crazy original band stuff. But hey, the best to you guys. Thank you for coming out here. Thank you guys for playing the show one time. Oddly enough, Michael, I guess you wouldn't be in the band if you didn't play here. So this is really weird.
Thank you.
But yeah, guys, we'll just end it here. Go check out Wild Daydream. What is the single coming out?
Single is coming out Friday, July 14th.
Friday, July 14th with a music video.
With a music video.
All right, and a double album to come after.
Ooh.
and if Simeon doesn't, absolutely go insane while he's mixing the dang thing. But so seriously,
Feel
thank
free
you guys.
to send snacks, moral support, nice comments. The record might come out faster.
Yeah.
Just saying.
But yeah, be kind to each other, y'all. And we'll end it right there. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Cheers.